Welcome to Viewing and Reviewing, where I pull older movies off the shelf, watch them, and let you know if I believe they're worth your time to watch or not. I'm Bobby T, your online video store clerk, and I'll be searching through my VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray collection to find titles that I think may be interesting to review. In today's episode, I'll be reviewing 1984's Night of the Comet, written and directed by Tom Eberhardt, and starring Mary Stewart, Kelli Maroney, and Robert Beltran. Let me read you the Shout Factory Blu-ray cover. It's the first comet to buzz the planet in 65 million years, and everyone seems to be celebrating its imminent arrival. Everyone, that is, except Regina Belmont, Mary Stewart of the Last Starfighter, and her younger sister Samantha, Kelli Maroney of the Chopping Mall. Two Valley girls who care more about fashion trends than the celestial phenomenon. But upon daybreak, when the girls discover that they're the only residents of Los Angeles whom the comet hasn't vaporized or turned into a zombie, they do what all good Valley girls do. They go shopping. But when their day of mauling threatens to become a day of mauling, these gals flee with killer zombies and blood-seeking scientists in hot pursuit. Now, I remember seeing this in the theater when it came out and watching it on the HBO loop every time it was on. Yeah, it's cheap, it's campy, and somewhat stretches the imagination beyond belief. I mean, we're talking zombie apocalypse based on a passing comet after all. But that's what makes this film so fun. The two very attractive leads, played by Mary Stewart and Kelli Maroney, are pitch perfect as the stylish teenage sisters who must realize not only that the entire human race has been vaporized into brown dust, but anyone exposed to the comet that didn't spend the night in a steel bomb shelter is slowly turning into a flesh-eating zombie intent on monkey-wrenching these two Valley girls from shopping and partying like there is no credit limit. Because there totally isn't. A sexy truck driver shows up in the nick of time to aid the girls in their defense against creepers with zombie faces and Uzis. And let's not forget about the unluckily exposed scientists who are racing against time to create a cure for the apocalypse before all mankind descends into zombified chaos, or brown brick dust. Finding the DVD for this film proved to be fairly difficult about a decade ago. I only had my very worn-out VHS copy. But a few years ago, Shout Factory released the gloriously remastered Blu-ray with a bunch of retrospective interviews with the original cast and crew that made me love it all over again. Seeing how Mary and Kelli have matured into beautiful older women only goes to prove what one of the doomed scientists said in the film, which was that Mary's hair was to die for back in the day. We aren't meant to put too much thought into the story since the film hangs out in 3 locations for most of the film. You know, the neon-induced automated radio station, the gloomy, trendy mall where the girls are hijacked by zombies as they shop like there's no credit limit, and the underground scientific bunker. The sets are always dark, scary, and simple. It's how low-budget films are supposed to be made. The cast and crew went out early on Christmas morning in 1983 to film all the deserted street sequences. It's guerrilla filmmaking at its most inspired. How many indie films can claim legitimately deserted downtown Los Angeles as their backdrop? It's perfectly eerie and atmospheric and gives a touch of realism most films of this genre could only dream about. Low budget doesn't have to feel cheap. This film was done right and is probably why so many people remember it so fondly these decades later. So, my overall report card of the film, it looks like this. Does it stand the test of time? Surprisingly, yeah. I'll give it a B+. The styles are dated, the sets are dated, the music is dated, but the whole package of what if is timeless. Plus, the eerie vacant street scenes really do show us what it would be like for those lucky few, or unlucky few, who are left behind after a natural disaster wipes out humankind as we know it. Plus, the girls' urban Rambo chic outfits remarkably still look cute nearly 40 years later. The story, well, is pretty much a zombie chase film, so there isn't a whole lot of story to go around. That being said, I'll give it a B+ because the sisters are extremely well written for Valley girls. Hector the trucker shows up at exactly the right time to figure stuff out for him. The scientists have a legitimate reason to act so dastardly, and adding the kids at the end allowed civilization to carry on in a natural way. Plus, the comedy mix throughout the film took some of the grossness out of the gruesome zombie attacks that we see throughout that the Night of the Living Dead really didn't. The cast. For a kind of indie film, this has a really good cast. I'll give it a B+. Catherine, Mary, and Kelli are the headliners and are total A+ worthy. They're funny, gorgeous, and play the teenage rambettes to perfection. This was the day when young women were either damsels in distress or forced to strip before being murdered by psychopaths in the B-movie genre. These girls were funny, sexy, and as resourceful as a Navy SEAL. Hector was he was just average, which isn't bad, and the scientists, although very one-dimensional, were played by some of the most recognizable character actors that did their job. We've seen a whole lot worse in more famous horror films. The cinematography. Well, I've already mentioned some of the sets. This was done on the cheap, but I'll give it a B+ for effort. I'm still mesmerized by how they got the Los Angeles streets to be literally deserted for so many shots. I mean, Kelli Maroney makes a point in one of the Blu-ray interviews that this was before CGI, so if you see a window cleaner in the background, it wrecked the shot. When you watch this film from that perspective, you have to be amazed at how vacant those shots were. I'd give it a higher grade just for creativity on an independent film. The music. Well, the exception of a fairly good cover of Cyndi Lauper's Girls Just Want to Have Fun in the mall sequence, the music is more early 80s muzak. I'll give it a C+. Nothing is memorable except for Cyndi's song. But if the music is the only misstep for this inexpensive film to be remembered so well, I'm sure the filmmakers would be proud. So, based on the above scores, I'm going to give this film a B rating, which may be a little higher than it deserves or not. For those of you that have never seen this film, you may rate it a little lower due to its dated campiness. But for those of you like me that loved this film back in the day, you will love this film again, especially on the Shout Factory Blu-ray right here. Watch the behind-the-scenes stuff too. It's worth the price of admission. Plus, Catherine, Mary's, and Kelli's hair, and pretty much the rest of them, they really are to die for. So, here are a few other recommendations along the same apocalyptic genre. Zombieland had a much bigger budget and an A-list cast. It also was really entertaining, funny, and a bloody movie with one of the greatest uncredited cameos in movie history. If you love this genre, this is a must-watch. Secondly, Shaun of the Dead. This was the one that put Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, and Edgar Wright on the map. Although made in 2004, exactly 20 years later than our film in this review, this comedy zombie apocalypse film feels fresh, silly, and is one of the all-time greats. It gives new meaning when you hear Simon yelling, "Bloody hell!" You just have to be able to laugh when a cricket mallet beheads someone. For a really great movie night, watch the unofficial trilogy of Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and At World's End. You won't be disappointed. And lastly, Night of the Creeps. Very similar low-budget film to The Night of the Comet, without the clever abandoned Los Angeles cityscapes in the background. It's prom night, and unfortunately for the girls in the house, their male dates have arrived, and they're dead. Those darn aliens, they sent zombies in their place. Well, that's it for Night of the Comet. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click the like button below. If you want to keep up to date on my future reviews, please click on the subscribe button below. If you want to purchase Night of the Comet on the Shout Factory Blu-ray, or if you wish to purchase any of the other titles I've mentioned earlier, please follow the Amazon links below. If you have any suggestions for movies you'd like me to review, please leave a comment below. I'll see what I can do. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, be sure to help others in need because it's always the right thing to do. Have a great week.